The viral video of a man drilling into a cylinder-shaped UAP has just got even crazier. What first appeared to be a reckless experiment in a bare basement has now evolved into one of the most unsettling UAP cases in recent memory. When the anonymous metal cylinder first appeared on a small YouTube channel, it seemed like just another strange object pulled from some forgotten corner of the desert. The man who recovered it, known only as James, filmed it lying on 2 army surplus ammo cans in a bare cinder-block room. The tube was a polished silver color, capped at each end, heavy enough that he struggled to move it alone. Strange markings were etched near one end in patterns that looked deliberate rather than decorative, including a star-like emblem and small geometric symbols. From the beginning, James insisted that the object had been found half buried in remote sand, far from any road or structure, after he had followed odd flashes in the night sky. As James continued posting short updates, viewers watched the atmosphere around the cylinder grow steadily more unsettling. He described headaches and nausea whenever he spent too long in the room. In one early video, he walked around the tube with his phone, explaining that the metal felt warm even when the room was cold, almost as if some unseen process inside was active. A single bare bulb hung from the ceiling, throwing a harsh yellow light and long shadows over the concrete floor. Even in that environment, the object seemed out of place, too clean and too precise, as though it had been machined in a facility far more advanced than the basement that now housed it. Soon, the lights began to misbehave. In another clip, James filmed himself entering the room, only for the bulb above the cylinder to flicker, dim, and then fail completely. He replaced it with a new bulb, which also failed. Eventually, he stood there with both ceiling sockets empty, holding a portable light just to see the thing resting on its supports. He said that electronics in the space had started acting strange, batteries draining quickly and tools refusing to work near the tube. Viewers familiar with reports of unidentified aerial phenomena noticed the pattern immediately. Electronic interference is a hallmark often associated with unknown craft. Despite his obvious unease, James kept returning. The object fascinated him as much as it frightened him. One close-up video revealed the etchings in better detail. The surface was not smooth like a commercial pressure tank. It bore subtle seams, jagged right angles, and shallow channels that suggested compartments or panels. The engravings were uneven, not the laser-sharp markings of factory equipment, but more like coded labels scratched by hand with specialized tools. Some viewers called it fake, precisely because of those flaws. Others pointed out that a clandestine human program, a secret engineering project, or an off-books experiment would likely build its prototypes in exactly this way. Hand-finished, altered in the field, never meant for public eyes. James also shared a still frame he claimed to have captured from earlier footage showing the cylinder in flight over the desert, stretched into a glowing rod by its speed and the limitations of his camera. The image resembled other rod-like objects recorded in different countries, some of which appeared as electric blue streaks racing silently across the sky. To many watchers, this was the first hint that the tube might not simply be an inert artifact, but part of a functioning craft or device. Everything reached a new level of intensity when James announced a live stream in which he planned to drill into the cylinder. By that point, rumors had started that the object might be dangerous, perhaps nuclear, perhaps something even stranger.
What is that? No, I'm sorry.
He spoke on camera about feeling an obligation to find out what was inside, partly for his own safety, and partly because he believed that if he did not investigate, someone else might retrieve the object and hide it forever. The live stream format meant that whatever happened would be recorded in real time, with no chance for post-production trickery. The stream began in the basement room. The cylinder rested on its ammo can supports as before. One of the ceiling sockets glowed with a dim overhead bulb. The far socket was empty. James appeared briefly at the edge of the frame, explaining shakily that he had not been able to find gloves and would proceed without them. In his hands, he held a cordless drill, worn and dirty from actual work. Close-up viewers could see that he positioned the bit against one of the small pre-drilled depressions already etched into the metal, a practical way to keep the bit from sliding across the curved surface. For a moment he hesitated, breathing hard, clearly frightened yet determined. Then he squeezed the trigger. The drill motor whined, and the small work light built into its housing snapped on, casting a pale blue glow over the point of contact. That light appeared as a narrow streak reflected along the tube, distinct from the warm yellow of the ceiling bulb. Everything about the scene at that instant looked mundane and consistent with real-world tools and surfaces. Within seconds, the atmosphere changed. As the drill pressed into the metal, the audio captured a strange rising interference tone beneath the motor noise, almost like garbled digital static forcing its way into the microphone. At the same time, the overall illumination in the room shifted. Shadows behind the supports faded and the concrete floor brightened, as though a powerful new light source had awakened somewhere off camera. A second blue reflection emerged on the lower curve of the tube, far from the drill. Unlike the moving streak tied to the tool, this new line remained perfectly stable, even as James's hand shifted. Analysis by visual effects artists later showed that this lower streak aligned precisely with an intense blue glow that appeared at the far end of the room in subsequent frames, a light with no visible lamp, cable, or fixture to explain it. The color matched the eerie neon cyan often associated with high-energy radiation, specifically the Cherenkov emission produced when particles move faster than light can travel through a medium. In nuclear reactors, this effect is seen in water surrounding reactor cores, yet here it seemed to blaze in open air, hugging the rough walls and pooling along the floor. As that unearthly light bloomed, James made a sound that shook many viewers. It was not a theatrical shout or a clever line, it was a raw, involuntary cry, the vocalization of a body hit by a sudden wave of terror and physical shock. His words fractured into panicked fragments as the drill clattered away and the phone camera lurched. For a brief instant, his silhouette could be seen tipping out of frame, his head and shoulders collapsing toward the floor. Then, the image cut to black. The stream did not end immediately. After a short interval, faint, shimmering patterns began to play across the darkness, as if the phone camera was still active, but overwhelmed by extreme low light and electronic interference. At times, the screen brightened with pulsating bands of blue-white, rising and falling in a manner too smooth and regular to be simple hand movements. Audio engineers who later enhanced the soundtrack at high gain levels detected a continuous humming tone layered with occasional metallic bangs, as though heavy objects somewhere in the room were shifting or resonating. More than 20 minutes passed like this. No voice returned, no footsteps, no obvious signs of a person regaining consciousness. Only the strange light pulses and that persistent mechanical hum, reminiscent of distant turbines or transformers under load, filled the remaining span of the stream. Near the very end, the blue glow flared once more as though some unseen process reached a peak, then slowly faded. The feed finally cut off with no clear mechanical action like a button press, suggesting that the device either lost power or was disabled by the same phenomenon that had silenced its surroundings. Because the stream uploaded automatically when it ended, the video appeared on James's channel even though he was not present to manage it. That simple fact carried weight for many watchers who understood how live platforms operate. If this were a staged hoax, James would have needed either a sophisticated pre-rendered video fed as a simulated live stream through specialized software, or a very elaborate practical setup with hidden projectors and light rigs. Yet his previous clips showed a man of modest means, someone who struggled even with basic lighting, not an experienced illusionist with professional visual effects training. Others pointed out that his channel with only a few thousand subscribers and short runtime uploads, did not qualify for monetization. There were no ads, no sponsors, no hints of merchandise or subscription drives. James never showed his face or gave his full name, reducing any potential personal fame. All of this made the theory that he orchestrated a complex deception purely for attention feel less convincing to those who carefully studied his behavior over time. As the clip spread across discussion forums and social media, specialists from different backgrounds weighed in. People familiar with epileptic episodes noted that James's vocalizations and the abrupt collapse resembled genuine seizures rather than melodramatic acting. Nuclear safety professionals who reviewed the blue light and subsequent humming suggested that if the event was authentic, James might have breached a highly radioactive interior chamber. They emphasized that Cherenkov-like luminescence in air implies energy levels far beyond ordinary industrial sources and could, if unshielded, deliver a dangerously high dose in seconds. Investigators of unidentified aerial phenomena saw deeper patterns. The interference with electronics before the drilling, the compass-like confusion that James mentioned, and the strobing light all mirrored long-standing reports from pilots and ground witnesses describing close encounters with anomalous craft. The cylinder itself, with its polished surfaces, cryptic engravings and apparent ability to move without obvious propulsion, fit the profile of smaller probes or components, often associated with larger craft such as spheres and disks. One content creator named Josh, who runs a channel devoted to analyzing the phenomenon, produced multiple in-depth breakdowns of the stream. Frame by frame, he demonstrated how the new blue reflection on the cylinder remained fixed relative to the room even when the drill moved, proving it came from a separate external source. He overlaid color filters to highlight the way the glow wrapped around corners and followed the geometry of the space, a signature of true three-dimensional light rather than a simple overlay. His conclusion was interesting. Whatever else might be argued, some form of powerful luminous emission genuinely manifested in that basement when James breached the cylinder. Josh also received emails from professionals who monitored global radiation networks. On the date of the stream, they noticed unusual spikes at monitoring stations in the American Southwest, far above normal background levels. These readings, they argued, were consistent with a significant but localized radiological event. While they could not definitively tie those measurements to James without his confirmed location, the timing added another layer of disturbing plausibility. Meanwhile, discussions turned to the origin of the cylinder itself. Those studying older mysteries drew parallels to the famous Bet sphere of the 1970s, a metal ball found after a brush fire in Florida that exhibited unexplained behaviors such as internal sounds, self-powered motion, and interaction with electromagnetic fields. Others noted the similarity to the recently publicized Booger sphere, a complex metallic object recovered in Colombia that contains fiber optic-like structures and exhibits variable weight, as though it can manipulate gravity. In each case, an apparently small device, handled by ordinary citizens rather than governments, displayed technology far beyond conventional understanding. Some commentators raised the possibility that the cylinder might not be extraterrestrial, but instead an artifact of hidden human research. Whispered accounts of secret propulsion programs and experimental energy sources have circulated for decades. In that context, the rough etching and welded seams might indicate a field-modified component created by advanced but still terrestrial engineers, perhaps lost or discarded in the desert under unknown circumstances. If so, James's discovery and his decision to tamper with it could have unintentionally exposed classified technology whose very existence is meant to remain obscured. Yet others pointed out that even if some human group built the object, the underlying physics on display appeared anything but ordinary. A device capable of emitting intense blue radiation, interfering with electronics, and possibly affecting human neurology at a distance would still represent a breakthrough worthy of the term exotic. The line between non-human and deeply hidden human technology becomes blurred when the mechanisms involved operate beyond publicly known science. In the days after the stream, James went silent. No new videos appeared on his channel. Viewers, anxious for his safety, scoured social media and local news archives, searching for reports of unexplained medical emergencies or strange events that might match his situation. Rumors began to circulate naming possible towns and hospitals, hinting at a man admitted with sudden convulsions and severe radiation sickness. None of these leads were confirmed, but the very existence of such rumors demonstrated how seriously many people had taken the footage. The absence of an official response from authorities added to the sense of unease. If emergency services had been called to that basement and discovered evidence of intense radiation or non-standard technology, it is plausible that specialized units would have secured the site and restricted information. In that scenario, James might be under medical care or in protective custody while agencies analyze the device, leaving the public with only the frozen relic of his live broadcast as a glimpse into what transpired. Regardless of the true outcome, the James cylinder incident has already become a defining story within the modern exploration of unidentified phenomena. It combines the raw authenticity of a shaky phone camera with the deep mystery of unknown physics. The event did not occur in a polished documentary or a well-funded fiction series. It unfolded in a bare basement, in real time, with an ordinary person holding a common tool. That contrast between the mundane setting and the extraordinary reaction of the object makes the footage especially compelling. The case also highlights the new role that independent creators and online communities play in this era. Many have treated the stream as potential evidence in a larger investigation, preserving copies, enhancing audio, and inviting open peer review. In doing so, they demonstrated how distributed citizen inquiry can sometimes move faster and more honestly than formal institutions bound by secrecy or caution. If James recovers and chooses to speak again, he may be able to fill in missing details about his discovery, his location, and the aftermath of the drilling. If he does not reappear, his video will stand as his final testimony, a record of one person's direct encounter with something that may not belong to any public category of human technology. In either case, the cylindrical object he found and the eerie blue light that erupted when its shell was pierced have already deepened the ongoing mystery surrounding unidentified aerial and anomalous devices. For those who study such phenomena, the lesson is clear. The unknown does not always announce itself through distant lights in the sky or official documents read in hearings. Sometimes it sits on two battered ammo cans in a dusty room, waiting for a curious person with a drill to break the seal. On January 29th, a man took to Reddit to share an astonishing experience, one that would provide some of the clearest footage ever recorded of a UFO. His goal had been simple: to capture high-quality 4K footage of an unidentified flying object. Armed with a Nikon P1000, one of the most powerful consumer cameras available, he set out to meet an individual who claimed to have the ability to summon a UFO. What followed was an encounter that defied all conventional explanations and left him with undeniable visual evidence of a mysterious silver orb hovering in the sky. The man's journey took him to South Downs National Park, a sprawling area covering 1,600 square kilometers or 628 square miles in southern England. Known for its open landscapes, rolling hills, and vast skies, the location provided an ideal setting for capturing aerial phenomena. Upon arriving, he prepared his equipment and waited for what he hoped would be a UFO. The individual he met had assured him that UFOs could be summoned, and the man was both skeptical and excited to see whether such a claim could hold any weight. Within moments of setting up, the event began to unfold. Hovering in the sky was a silver orb-shaped object, moving in ways that defied conventional aerodynamics. Unlike a balloon or a piece of debris, which would drift with the wind or follow predictable flight paths, this object exhibited controlled, intelligent movement. The man described how the UFO dropped, then ascended again, moving sideways in a manner inconsistent with any known aircraft or natural airborne object. Capturing this incredible sight, he used both his Nikon P1000 and his iPhone, ensuring that multiple recordings were taken for verification. Over the course of 20 minutes, the object remained visible, hovering in place despite a reported wind speed of 10 miles per hour. According to his calculations, an object caught in a 10-mile-per-hour wind should have drifted at least 2.17 miles over 13 minutes, yet this UFO stayed in the same location. The fact that it remained stationary for such an extended period, unaffected by natural forces, ruled out the possibility of it being something as simple as a weather balloon. The man and his companion were present for a total of 30 minutes, recording the UFO for the majority of that time. Despite the wind, it did not move miles away as any conventional object would have, reinforcing the idea that this was something truly anomalous. The footage itself is described as high quality, making it one of the best documented sightings in recent history. The clarity of the video eliminates common skepticism associated with blurry or low-resolution UFO footage. The man emphasized that anyone who sees the footage would immediately recognize that this was not a conventional aircraft, drone, or atmospheric phenomenon. The way the object moved, dropping, ascending, shifting sideways, suggested a level of controlled motion that defied explanation. Many UFO skeptics argue that most sightings can be explained by misidentifications, weather conditions, or man-made technology. However, this particular sighting challenges those explanations. A drone, for instance, would have been easily identified based on its structure, movement patterns, and sound. A balloon, subjected to wind currents, would have drifted away rather than staying locked in place. Natural airborne objects, such as birds or debris, would not exhibit the precise and seemingly intelligent movement captured in the footage. The location of the sighting adds another layer of intrigue. South Downs National Park is a remote, open area with minimal interference from city lights or high air traffic. Unlike urban environments where drone activity is common, this location reduces the likelihood that the object was a standard human-made aerial vehicle. Furthermore, the presence of an individual who claimed to have the ability to summon UFOs raises even more questions. If such an ability is real, does it imply that these objects are responding to human presence or intent? This sighting also follows a pattern seen in many previous UFO encounters, where witnesses describe metallic, orb-like objects capable of remarkable maneuvers. The description of the silver orb aligns with numerous credible reports from pilots, military personnel, and everyday observers who have described similar crafts exhibiting intelligent motion, hovering capabilities, and sudden changes in direction. This continuity across separate sightings strengthens the case that these objects are not mere misinterpretations, but are genuine, unexplained aerial phenomena. The man's decision to post his experience on Reddit speaks to the growing movement of citizen UFO researchers who are using modern technology to document the phenomenon. Unlike in previous decades, where reports relied solely on eyewitness testimony, today's sightings can be captured in high-definition video and shared instantly with the public. This democratization of evidence removes the possibility of government agencies suppressing or controlling the narrative around UFO encounters. Despite the compelling nature of where the subject is going, mainstream institutions remain hesitant to engage with these cases seriously. The reluctance to investigate such well-documented sightings only fuels speculation that there may be a broader effort to downplay or dismiss credible UFO encounters. The man's experience in South Downs National Park raises profound questions about the nature of these objects and their purpose. If UFOs can indeed be summoned, what does that say about their awareness of human observers? The recent high-quality footage of a silver orb-shaped UFO captured at South Downs National Park represents a significant step forward in UFO research and public awareness. For decades, blurry, grainy, and often unconvincing UFO footage has dominated the conversation, making it easy for skeptics to dismiss sightings as misidentifications or hoaxes. However, as camera technology improves, the ability to capture clear, undeniable evidence is becoming more accessible, and this latest video is a prime example of how the topic of UFOs is evolving. One of the biggest challenges in UFO research has been the lack of clear footage. Many of the most famous UFO videos throughout history have been degraded by poor camera quality, shaky hands, or insufficient zoom capabilities. Traditional phone cameras struggle to capture distant and fast-moving objects, leading to underwhelming and inconclusive videos. Many have often pointed to the poor quality of these recordings as proof that there is nothing extraordinary about the objects being seen, but with devices like the Nikon P1000, which was used in the South Downs sighting, this narrative is beginning to change. The Nikon P1000 is one of the most powerful consumer cameras available, capable of 125 optical zoom and 4K ultra-high definition recording. Unlike standard smartphones, which have limited zoom and focus capabilities, this camera allows users to capture distant objects with remarkable clarity. This means that, for the first time, UFO footage is approaching a level of quality that can no longer be easily dismissed. As more people begin to use high-quality cameras, the likelihood of obtaining undeniable evidence increases dramatically. The South Downs footage is just one example of a growing trend. In recent years, an increasing number of UFO videos have surfaced, taken with modern DSLR and mirrorless cameras, night vision equipment, and advanced smartphones. These videos provide a level of detail that was previously unheard of, offering clearer views of UFOs' shapes, movements, and even material composition. The more such footage emerges, the harder it becomes for skeptics to argue that all sightings can be attributed to balloons, drones, or atmospheric distortions. The significance of orb-shaped UFOs cannot be overstated. Unlike traditional disc-shaped or triangular UFOs, which gained popularity in the mid-20th century, orbs have been reported for centuries, long before the invention of airplanes or modern flying technology. This suggests that they are not simply mistaken military craft or experimental drones, but something that has been present throughout human history. Historical records, paintings, and even cave drawings have depicted glowing orbs in the sky, sometimes referred to as Foo Fighters during World War II. Pilots at the time frequently reported seeing mysterious glowing spheres following their aircraft at high speeds, displaying flight characteristics that defied known physics. These sightings were taken seriously, with military intelligence agencies conducting investigations into their nature.